All right, so today we're talking about the cheat codes for pain-free training. All right, so we're gonna go through the bracing sequence, okay? How to brace your core, how to kind of lock in and get really nice and sturdy for whatever lift you're gonna do. But this translates to a ton of other stuff too, as far as like, you know, just a slight little brace going to look for something in the fridge or pick something up or anything like that. So first thing we're gonna think about is our feet, okay? So feet about shoulder width. I'm gonna think about trying to screw my feet into the ground just a little bit. I'm gonna pretend they're on dinner plates and I'm trying to pull them out this way. So just a little bit, and that's gonna naturally make my knees track out just a little bit, so you can see that. So if I was to squat right now, my knees would go out, all right? Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna squeeze my glutes a little bit. It's probably like 30–40% tension. Just kind of squeeze, pinch a penny between the cheeks a little bit, all right? Then I'm going to take my shoulders, I'm gonna kind of roll them back a little like this. Now naturally that's gonna make my rib cage pop up a little bit, okay? So now I gotta tighten my core. I gotta kind of pull everything nice and tight right here as if somebody's gonna punch me in the stomach. So shoulders, ribs pop up a little bit, and then I'm gonna tighten that up nice and tight like somebody's about to punch me. Last thing I wanna do, I'm gonna pull the shoulders back, I'm gonna pull the chin back too. Now I'm braced. It's also just a default position that you want to be very familiar with when it comes to everyday life.
Now, I'm not saying we need to walk around like Neanderthals or just super rigid and stiff all the time, like this is some appropriate or necessary procedure for just everyday life. However, by practicing this skill and learning this skill and training this skill, you're going to be better prepared for those little strenuous or challenging situations in life. So here's some ways you can train that skill. Planks, side planks, rollouts, carries, loaded carries are awesome. Even the king of them all, the bird dog. So all these exercises tend to stress and train your ability to brace your core.
Next thing we're talking about is torque. I mentioned this in the bracing sequence, but when we're talking about torque with our feet, we want to think about trying to screw into the ground, all right? So if I was to do a lunge and I screw in, I'm trying to externally rotate, my knee's gonna track out a bit, which is okay. So same thing, I'm gonna pause here, I'm gonna pretend like I'm gonna try to screw my feet. Sometimes I even put my feet a little bit in like this and then torque them straight like that. So now my knees are gonna track out. If I squat, that gives me a lot of external rotational stability down into my hips, which is actually going to make my knee, my hip, and everything track into the right position, a more stable position, okay? So the same thing applies in the shoulder, okay? So if we're looking at the shoulder here, and I'm here, I'm not as stable as I would be if I torqued in just like this, okay? So there's an exercise that I do sometimes called like a mini band rotation where I'm creating torque, but what we wanna see here is like if I was to do a bench press, okay? Got the bar just like this, and now I don't have a whole lot of external rotational stability, but as soon as I torque in and I try to bend this bar, my shoulders kind of get more active, my triceps get a little tighter, and now when I come down, my elbows are gonna track just in the right position, just like my knees would when I do a squat, but now it's like when I do a press. So another cue here is if you're doing like a push-up, the cue is you wanna kind of torque your hands in, just like we did with our feet, but we wanna think about our elbow pits going forward. So like this. So if I'm here, I don't have a whole lot of external rotation stability or torque now, but as soon as I do this, now I do, okay? And that's going to make my elbows track at just the right angle for me to have a lot of stability during that push-up. Good. All right, so now that we talked about all that, damn, let's cut that. All right, so now that we talked about all that, we have to understand that what we were doing when we were bracing and utilizing torque is we were kind of activating our two different core systems. So I explained to people that you have a lower core and an upper core. So your lower core is what we think of, the abs, the hips, all the stability that comes from having the correct mechanics down here, bracing the core, all that. But also your upper core basically reverses this slumpy, let's call it suboptimal posture, okay? So that's things like your upper back muscles, a lot of those scapular stabilizing muscles, a lot of the shoulder stabilizers and rotator cuff muscles, and even the deep neck flexor muscles here. So if I go from here to here and pull my chin back and my shoulders back, I'm activating all those deep core muscles of the upper body. But just like bracing your core down here, you kind of need to brace your core in your upper body, and that's what that external rotational stability does for you, okay? So it's kind of the cheat code. If you understand how to brace and how to utilize torque, you're gonna cover most of the bases for activating those two core systems appropriately.
All right, we're gonna put all this together so you can watch me try to pick up 400 pounds. So you're gonna see me, I'm starting to torque in right now. I'm getting set. Now I'm gonna kind of get in and out of this position multiple times, but now I'm gonna try to brace my belly. I'm gonna take a little breath in, and then I'm gonna kind of brace, and then I like to kind of torque right down into the bar when I do deadlift. So I might do this a couple times, but I'm torqued in, I'm braced, took a breath, and then I lift. There, let's watch it one more time. So I'm torqued in, I'm gonna kind of spin those feet a little bit out. So now my knees wanna track outwards. This is a standard sumo deadlift. Now I'm kind of cinching myself down into that bar to where I can keep everything real tight. So a little breath in the belly, brace. Ooh, didn't like that one. Let's do it one more time. Brace, lift, and then a little exhale at the top. Boom, there we go.